Yeah, all right. Here we go, 700. One thing we'll go check out and do a little test with all of these firearms is the Sear test, where you push just out of battery for the slide and see if the Sear then goes off. Yeah, 700 today. Really quick clarification. I just covered my face because I don't want to have a conversation about looks necessarily or facial features and, like I said, my botched lip job or nose job or Botox or any of that stuff. Just keep it about the firearms. Keep it about the conversation and the topics at hand. And we'll talk about the Sear test, and then also too what you think about negligent discharges. It was part of the conversation because of when this is taking place, and that poor gentleman that blew off his jewels, just one jewel, not both jewels, but what your definition is. Just, and it's just a completely neutral standpoint. What do you think an accidental discharge is and a negligent discharge is, or if they're interchangeable, and if you've had one or the other. I'll go over what my take is and what I think an accidental, and I might even look it up too and just to describe it, but what I think an accidental and a negligent discharge is. So that being said, and then also too, I'll talk about my unintentional discharges at the outro. So enjoy, we'll see you in the outro, and think about those couple of things that I talked about. And also too, this Sear test, if you've done that with any of your striker fire pistols. Okay, enjoy.
This video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. All firearm handling shown is performed by trained individuals in a controlled environment. Always follow the 4 rules of gun safety. Number 1, treat your firearm as if it's loaded. Number 2, never point a firearm at anything you do not intend to destroy. Number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Number 4, be sure of your target and what's beyond it. Comply with all local, state, and federal laws regarding firearms. Do not attempt to replicate any actions seen in this video without proper training and safety measures. The creators assume no liability for misuse or unsafe practices.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me today on the 1,000 round review for round 700 of the Shadow Systems DR920 Elite, without the Elite part, just the regular barrel. Shooting at 17 yards because I'm just going to stick there for this 1,000 round period of these firearms, this firearm. And two things I wanted to mention before we get going. One, change my look, change the hat because that's a landscape hat, and I don't want to keep wearing that landscape hat. I wanted to do something more befitting of draw and fire and getting to know and understand the firearms that I'm using, shooting. And then also, that part of it is important. The reason why I have myself concealed is because I don't want to make it about me and my botched lip job or my screwed up nose job. I wanted to make it about the firearms. I wanted to be focused on doing that, and we can connect with my eyes, my words, and the feedback of the firearm rather than how I look. I know it's kind of contradictory, but it is what it is. And then the other part of it is the 1,000 rounds that I'm doing is every video is 100 rounds. Every video is static. Every video is just draw and fire. Every video is just about learning the mechanics, understanding the fundamentals, getting used to the pistol that I'm shooting or firearm or whatever I'm utilizing for my edification, and to then let you know what I think, how I feel about what I'm shooting. That doesn't mean that my word is the only word, and I have a different height, different weight, different sight, different reaction, and also muscle mass, bone mass, density. All those things come into play with shooting these firearms, and also the grain as well. So it's just from my perspective what I've been doing, how long I've been doing it for, and then pass it on to you to start that conversation and let you know and see what your experience is, if you do have one with this or any other of the pistols that I'm shooting, which is 50 plus. All year long, that's a 1,000 round review. I'm going to get off my soapbox talking about all these things because it came up in a comment and I wanted to address it. Fiocchi, Range Dynamics, Full Metal Jacket 115 grain. Let's get it going. Wonderful day, barely any breeze. Super awesome. Come on, baby. Excited. This gun is fun. Take my time. Oh. Got too excited. Damn. Good God. She just wants to run like a track star. Sorry. Nope. Excuse me. Darn. Bad shot, bad shot. Good shot. Aww. And, yeah. 2 unintentionals. High right. One more. Okay. Whew. What a rush. A lot of unintentionals. I was trying to go too fast, but I had too much fun. She is accurate like a mother. Love it. Trigger is definitely good for competition. Yeah, nothing else, just... Oh, and then I have aftermarket hardware on it, namely the slide stop, also gives it an extra grip. And of course, if I'm riding it, then yeah, but I did that last one. Anyway, great. Thank you for joining me. Awesome. We'll see you at the outro. Take care. Yes, sir. All right. That's 700. Here we go. Now that sear test I was talking about is interesting, and also too, you know, God forbid you be pressed up against something or somebody. If it's out of battery, then it will not fire. It has to come back into battery for it to go off. And in this one with the Shadow Systems is, let me get focused here, is just, oh, hold on. I'd say if it's just out here, it will not fire, but then it's here, you know, it will go off. So it's interesting because a lot of these firearms, the striker fire, the canic was one of the main culprits, which it could be either a good or a bad thing, right? Because if you're this close and it still depresses, the sear still goes off, then that could be either a good or bad thing, depending on if you're pressed up against a target and you want it to go off, right? See, that goes off. And then we have the Mete MC9 Prime here, which is clear. If you have it out of battery, even back here, it will still go off. So now that whether or not that engages that you know, has the firing pin hit the primer is, you know, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna have a press up against something to try and test that. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think, if that's a good or bad thing, depending on a circumstance and situation, obviously. And if that is, you know, because a lot of these firearms, if it's out of battery just a little bit, it will still fire, right? But for the canic, MC9 Prime, it has to be way out here. Even back here, it still goes off. So it's very interesting. Now, going to the, on that note, going to the negligent and or accidental discharge, what do you think? Do you think negligent, I mean, the definition of negligence is not, I don't have the technical definition, but it's not being present, basically, right? So you're neglecting something, which is safety of the firearm. So I presume, my take is a negligent discharge, where you are being negligent of a firearm, is you have, you know, you see a firearm on the table, you pick it up, you do not clear it. It still has a magazine inserted. You do not pull the slide back to see if there's a round in the chamber. You do not drop the magazine. You just pick the firearm up and fire. That to me is a negligent discharge. Accidental discharge, or what I call, for in my case, unintentional, is you're in a safe situation. You are aware of the firearm. You are aware of everything that's going on. You have a round in the chamber, or you don't have a round in the chamber. Well, I'm sorry. You have a round in the chamber because obviously it's accidental or an unintentional. You are on target. Your finger is on the trigger or near the trigger, and just barely touching the trigger, and it goes off, right? To me, that is, and you're on target. You're downrange. You're not off to the side. You're not, you know, in the holster. Your weapon is drawn. You have a good grip on it. You are presenting yourself downrange, you know, getting ready to fire, and you are, you know, your trigger, you don't anticipate, you didn't plan on, right? You didn't plan on shooting it so soon and it goes off. Everything else is consistent with you being down range. That to me is an accidental discharge, or for my case, unintentional. I want to shoot, but not that soon, right? Negligence Negligent discharge is you do not have any sort of safety measures, protocol that you played before you handle the firearm and or especially pull the trigger. What do you think? What is your thoughts on the difference between the two? Because I have seen some gun tubers talk about a negligent discharge and an accidental discharge and the differences between the two. So this is probably splitting hairs, but let me know also too if you've had any negligent discharges. I will talk about that later on down the line, which it's kind of towing the line. So I'll give you this scenario when it comes time to. Just keep that in your mind. I have had, I want to say, we'll just classify one as a negligent discharge because God, and God willing, also, knock on wood, that one it's kind of towing the line. So when that time comes, and I will talk about it, let me know what you think about that scenario. And then let me know in the comments if you've ever had a negligent discharge or an accidental / unintentional discharge when you're downrange and everything is consistent. You may not even be on the target, but you have a firm grip. You are ready to shoot, and let's say you're 5 feet below the target, down near you. Let's say at 12 yards, you're at 6 yards, and you pull the trigger and it hits the dirt, right? Let me know what your thoughts are, because like I said, we are going to talk about that in the review, about specifics on carrying appendix, carrying hip, or carrying on your thigh. So shoulder holster, or even in your rear behind you, which I really don't advise that. Anyway, I know it's a little bit longer one, but I just want to talk about these couple of things. And this is the Sear test. I thought was pretty cool. I hadn't heard that before and hadn't tested it out on any of my pistols. So yeah, let me know what you think. We'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow at 800. Like, subscribe, comment, start that over. Like, subscribe, comment, recommend, all that jazz, not in that particular order. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. 照顾好自己，注意安全。